Okay, let me make sure I got everything set up just the way that I want it. Thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate you. Um, hmm, Un momento. Okay, just looking around. And I can't see the chat board, so you guys have to forgive me because I really can't find the button for chat. I'm on a different computer and it's not working out as expected. But hopefully everyone is having a great day. It's a little echoey in here. I know that already. Um, Minister Robinson, Church of Real Talk, founder of the Now Movement. Um, I kind of want to talk about Church of Real Talk because we're recognized in New Jersey as a non-for-profit. I'm just waiting for the Fed side to come back so that we can be an official non-for-profit. Exciting times. Exciting times. I mean, it's been a huge climb from when I first started Church of Real Talk. I think. Well, this is breakdown how it happened. So I got ordained, and me and my backwards that is crazy way of thinking decided that since I did photography at the time, I figured, hey, listen, let me do it like this. Let me go ahead and book wedding and photo packages. And I think that was the most selfish thing that I could have did after being ordained. And it didn't work out. The universe just it definitely was not going to play into that game with me. Um, so I changed it. I thought about it for a while. And I really feel that I'm chosen. I really feel that I'm the chosen one. And I never adhere to the 144K being the only chosen ones. I think everyone has a potential to live up to their full potential. And I think that's what chosen ones do. They live up to their full potential. So that went along, but I was going through some stuff in my personal life. And that is how we got here to the newest, I guess, version of Church of Real Talk. It's not really new because it's still sanctuary for the chosen. It still adheres to the fact that it's for empaths. Um, but I started to notice something, and I noticed this in my own life. Um, I guess, with everything, there's a downside. And being an empath, I found out the downside. I've actually found it out a couple of times. Going through life, I say 3 times at the most. First 2 times, I had no freaking clue what was going on. Um, but I guess the first 2 times they weren't very good at what they did. So I was able to break free and just rebuild my life. The third time was a little bit more different. The third time, this person knew what they were doing. And they actually had the game up to 100, 100, 100. They were good at it. And that caused me to seek knowledge, to figure out what I was going through. That's the type of person I am. I'm not just going to assume something. I'm actually going to go find out about it. And everything happens for a reason. I was working on the Tales of Betrayal. I was working on that. That was a project that I was working on. And about people feeling betrayed. And I think at a psychological core level, I felt that I was betrayed. And as I'm doing research and filming little clips for that, I wanted to turn it into a full documentary. But I started diving deeper. And I think I switched gears to what it was that I was going through. I wanted to figure out what it was that I was going through. And I decided, I was like, as I'm gathering information, I'm saying, let me just go ahead and write a book while I'm at it. I just like doing stuff. So I'm gathering this information, and I'm going online. I'm doing what most people that are coming out of poverty, seeking clarity. So I'm watching other people's videos. I'm reading books. I'm using ChatGPT. I'm finding out more information. I'm studying, the greats when it comes to psychology, Freud and Jung. Freud didn't have too much to say about it, but Carl Jung actually did have a lot to say about it. Um, and then I could put a name to it. And then I could put a name to it. It was narcissistic abuse. That's what I was going through. And like most survivors, most people that come out of the fog, I'm going to be completely honest with you. At first, you don't want to say anything. Because at the end of the day, that would mean that you have to admit that you were bamboozled, that you were conned, that someone took advantage of you. So, and being a native New Yorker, you don't want to go around and say you got conned. That's like, admitting that you got conned from a 3-card Monte deal. Nobody talks about stuff like that. But as I got more and more clarity, I started thinking, I was like, well, I can't be the only one going through this, can I? Is it just me? And that just opened up a whole new mission. And here's the reality of it. The mission was not based. I see people in here and I apologize. I just can't interact because I can't see the chat box. I don't know where the hell it went to on this computer, but I apologize. I really do apologize. I do thank you for joining me. And I'm sitting up there and I'm like, I can't be the only one going through this, and that is where we shifted gears. I think at the end of 2025, my main thing was dismantling the mask. I wanted to put all of these narcissists on blast because as I'm going through different groups and following different people, I'm noticing there's a trend where people say, oh, no, that's just, that's it. There's no such thing as narcissists. And, it's just people that are toxic and this, that, and the other. And more than likely, that was narcissists putting that up because there is such a thing as narcissism. There really is such a thing as narcissism. In fact, that's why it sits in the DSM-5. The guide that mental health professionals use to actually define what mental health problem the person in front of them has. And the DSM-5 was like a godsend for me when I first found out about it. I was like, wow. And basically, there's a rule of thumb that the narcissist, for a person to be considered a narcissist, they have to hit 5 of those 9 criteria. I lucked up. Mine's hit all 9. And, again, this is not about revenge. This is not about getting back at this person. This is not about smearing their name. It's more about making people aware of the nefarious people that's out there, people that will actually hurt empaths. Now, let's go back to empaths. Let's go back to the chosen ones, okay? Empaths, they are the ones that actually make the major changes in this world. No, seriously, they're the ones that go out there and do stuff. Because see, people that are selfish, like narcissists, that's one of the criteria, they're very self-serving. They're not going to do anything for anybody but themselves. However, empaths, and this is the reason why they stay trapped in these dynamics. Empaths, they want to fix stuff. I don't know why we feel that way, but we just want to fix stuff. And as we go through history, we see all the people that would be considered chosen ones, and they all had that same attribute. They wanted to fix things. There was a problem, they saw a problem, and they wanted to fix it. They wanted to make it right. And narcissists, they take full advantage of this because when you break it down to, I guess, not a world-saving aspect, you'll find that the narcissist understands that, hey, if this person is an empath, this person is going to have that one concept always in their mind that's going to allow me to drain them dry. That concept being hope. And then of course the hope leads into I can fix this. Empaths are very stubborn creatures. I'm one, so I can tell you that. We're very stubborn. We find that for the most part, if we see something is broken, especially when it comes to people, we want to fix those people. And that is the worst thing. That is the worst thought pattern that you can have when you're in a narcissistic dynamic. Okay, because this person A doesn't want to be fixed, and B, they know exactly what they're doing, and C, they're depending on the fact that you are hoping that you can fix this, because that just strings it along. So the church of real talk, a lot of what I do does tend to breaking. It tends to the course of breaking empaths free from narcissistic abuse. That's kind of what we do here at Church Real Talk. I mean, we do the trauma bond exit protocol. It's like a course on YouTube where, bite-sized chunks, under 15 minutes each video. I think I'm up to 17 now. And where people can, if they're having a moment of non-clarity, they can look. And I use facts. And I just like what I did when I did the breakdown, which I'm going back to that, nothing but facts. Nothing but facts. A little sprinkling in of what I experienced, but it's 99% facts, 1% me. And I created that so that people, I got courses, I got paid courses, I've got Zoom, I have Zoom consults, I have all that stuff, but I always want to leave an option for people to actually go and get stuff for free. Because I figure, again, this comes from me. If you're going through the shit show that's narcissistic abuse, more than likely the narcissist is draining you dry financially anyway. Okay, financially, that's part of their MO. They want to leave you completely effed up in life. Okay, so we understand that part. Okay, so I couldn't see myself not giving free options. That's why I have free options all over the freaking place. Between audiobooks, between everything. Just DM me if you want. And they're not that half stuff. It's not that teaser stuff. It's complete thought processes. Okay, to get people through this trauma bond. Again, if you joined, I see a couple more people join. If you joined, I can't see the chat, so I apologize ahead of time, but I do appreciate you being here. Okay, so I wanted to give free stuff, but back to the non-for-profit, I decided that I wanted to take it to the next level. So Jersey recognizes me. Waiting for the fake paperwork to come back so that I can be an official non-for-profit. And since it's in Jersey, and since I actually live in Camden County, what I did was I centered it around Camden. They gave me a way that I could, I guess, centralize it from now. Okay, not that I'm all over the place. I'm not jumping on planes to go do seminars and stuff like that. Because again, I want to keep it low cost and free if possible. Okay, so I do a lot of things out here. Today was supposed to be the first Coffee and Hope, but logistics just screwed me over. That's why I'm doing a live, because I felt bad. I thought Coffee and Hope was a good concept. I just rescheduled it to another day because whenever you start something new, you're going to run into logistical problems. Things that I like to call are non-controllable. So Coffee and Hope is just, I guess, one of the ways to not only share coffee, because I love coffee, but I think it's a way for the conversation to be started. A lot of people go through, I guess, emotional trials and tribulations. And the thing with emotional trials and tribulations, we have been taught since like forever to keep that to ourselves. Nobody really wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear your problems. We've all heard the thing, if someone says, hey, how's your day going? I don't got any problems. The person will respond with, because nobody probably cares. It's true. No, you would think that nobody really cares, but in a sense, it's not true. Okay. I wish when I was going through the isolation, I started to regret all the people that I separated myself from. Because these are people that I had known for years before this person even came into my life. And I allowed them to psychologically separate me from me. And I felt isolated. And a lot of people do feel isolated. And that's the reason why, Coffee and Hope, because we can start a conversation. Where that conversation leads is completely up to you. I'm going to tell you, I mean, all the paperwork says what it is that I do. I do trauma recovery. I help people become the best versions of themselves. Because see, that's the most important part, is to become the best version of yourself. Whenever you go through trauma, whenever you go through narcissistic abuse, any kind of trauma that's emotionally based, physically based, whatever, once you go through that, I'm going to tell you, 99% of the time, that person feels broken. That person feels like they will never be the person that they once were. It all boils down to choice. See, you have to make that choice in your mind that, I'm not going to let this stop me. I'm not going to let this break me. One of the things that I say constantly to people is, tell me a little bit about yourself before you met your abuser, before you met this person that you feel destroyed your life. And they would tell me all of these great things, what they used to do, what gave them joy. It could be anything from cooking to going to the gym. But that's what they like to do. And then they found that slowly they didn't want to do that anymore due to the trauma that they were experiencing. But what I try to reinforce to people is you can make a choice today to going back to that person. One of my phrases I use all the time is, can you at least get back to the day before you met your abuser? Just the day before. So much can be said for that. Because as you start to come out the fog, you start to realize a couple of things. You start to realize the obvious thing is, what was the common denominator to you feeling depressed, to you feeling lost, to you feeling like you couldn't pick yourself back up? Usually one person. Unless you're the black sheep of the family, then it's quite a few people. Because, and I think I said this on another live, because being the black sheep of the family is actually a form of narcissistic abuse, because you are being abused. Okay, you are being smeared, you are being belittled, you are being devalued, because the dysfunction in that family is the mask that they wear. And they will do anything, just like in a romantic, I'm not even going to call it romantic, but in a situationship where you're the person you sleep next to is, they do the same thing. They need to protect their mask. You come to the realization after you come out the fog that if you were having a health crisis, your best bet would be to have it out in the street in public. Okay? Because if you have it privately with your abuser, they're just going to walk over you because they don't care. But outside in the world where people can see them, oh my God, they'll cry, river, call 911 500 times, yell at the top of their lungs, oh my God, somebody help us. Because the mask, they've got to keep that mask up. But in private, behind closed doors, they probably step over your body, sit back, grab a chair, grab a smoke, and watch you twitch and shake. Okay, because they don't care about you, they only care about the mask. And in their mind, if you pass on, hey, that ends the supply. So what good are you now? So that's what I do. That's what I'm doing with the non-for-profit. I'm starting conversations in the hopes. Now, no matter where the conversation goes, I am going to be of assistance. That's just me. That's how I'm built. I'm going to be of assistance. However, if we can uncover something, most people, when they're depressed, nobody really knows. Look at all the greats that have themselves. We didn't know they were depressed. Some people had people in their family that we didn't know that they were depressed. Because they put on a good show. They wore a mask. We all wear a mask to a certain extent. Empaths wear a mask. Empaths are created from the mask, the pain that they experienced when they were young. Just like narcissists are created by the pain that they experienced when they were young. However, the mask just takes different outlooks. It takes different roles. It takes a different form. The empath says, I don't want anybody to go through this. I want to help people. Nobody should go through this. The narcissist says, somebody's got to pay. If I've got to deal with this shame, somebody's got to pay. And that's the difference. A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't realize that empaths wear masks. Now, the mask of being there for everyone, even though being there for everyone is draining them. Okay? Empaths wear the mask of overextending themselves. Even though it's killing them slowly, they're always going to do it because they want to be accepted. They're like children, they want to love and be loved. And as an empath, I think I found that balance to being of assistance, to serving others, to helping others. I found that balance, okay, by Church of Real Talk. That's why it's so important to me. Okay, Church of Real Talk forced me to do a lot of things. It forced me to reflect. It forced me to deal with my shadows, to deal with my demons. See, a lot of people on, I think it was a year ago, everybody was doing, oh, you got to do the shadow work. You got to do the shadow work. Nobody's ready to do the shadow work. In all honesty, many people are not ready to do the shadow work. They're not ready to go out there and dig deep to find out what that shadow is and why it causes them to act this way. So, yeah, Church of Real Talk helped me reflect. It helped me understand. And I had to go down memory lane. I had to relive those experiences that shaped me into the person that I was. The difference between me and the narcissist, I never want to hurt anybody. I actually want the best for everybody. And sometimes that drains me. Sometimes that drains me. When you want the best for everyone, that can be draining. Not as draining as being with a narcissist. It's never that draining. Okay, because a narcissist is based on their shadow. Their shadow is based on the fact of, hey, I'm not going to reflect. I'm not going to do any retrospect. I'm not doing any introspect. I'm not doing no spect. Okay, I am just going to keep this shame buried. And if I can find new and creative ways to keep this shame down to a minimum, guess what? That's what I'm doing. That is what I'm doing. Nothing more, nothing less. And that's why the Church of Real Talk has to exist, because I think this is like niche territory. I mean, a very small niche. Again, we go back to the beginning. People that come out of traumatic relationships, toxic relationships, narcissistic relationships, they really don't want to talk about it. They don't. And that actually does a couple of bad things. One of those things that it actually does is it allows the narcissist to get away scot-free. Masking tech, because they're going to go out there, they're going to run out there, play victim mode, tell the whole world it was the other person's fault. Because it couldn't be their fault. They tried their best. And 99% of the time, they're snaring you before you even know the relationship is over. Because in their mind, it's over. They feel that they broke you, and they feel that there's nothing else they can get from you. So they start the process of snaring and devaluing your name so that they can keep that mask intact. Okay? And it sucks, but it's true. And if they get away with their mask, they just go and start the cycle over again. They just go find somebody else. They call it monkey branching. They're just trying to monkey branch until they find another empath. Everybody else is just can't bother. They don't care about anybody else. All they care is, oh, you want to give me admiration? Okay, cool, whatever. I'll love bomb you to a certain extent. Just keep on giving me admiration. And I'm cool. Oh, you think I'm handsome? You think I'm pretty? Oh, go ahead. You already know. You're giving me validation. You're making me feel good. That's all that I need. And I think it hurts, for survivors. I think since I had went through it 2 previous times, and the third time I was able to actually do the research putting into it, I think, and this is me thinking out loud, I think it was kind of easier for me to break through. Yeah, I still went through the trauma bond. I still went through the withdrawal symptoms because it had been years. I still went through the withdrawal symptoms, but it was easy to deal with this time around. It was really a lot easier to deal with because I had clarity, I had knowledge, I understood what had happened to me. And yeah, I blamed myself to a certain extent. Because you have to come to that stage as just a human freaking being. You gotta come to that stage where you give yourself some freaking grace. You have to. And I'm not in the trauma bond, but I still have to interact with it. I still, as distasteful as just as I'm saying it, I'm getting like cotton mouth. I'm like, ugh, you still got to deal with them. Given the option, given the choice, I wish I didn't have to deal with it. I really do. It's like I see through the games now. I see through the messages, the emails, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, you just don't get it. You really just don't get it. You don't understand. I'm through. And I need more empaths to get to that level. Not in a vengeful way, not in a cold way, not in a cruel way. See, the reality is that's why when I first started the momentum of the Now movement, one of the things that I did was healing through peaceful choices. And I actually do believe in that concept, healing through peaceful choices. Because what I really found out, what really helped me understand was the fact that as long as I'm angry at them, they're still center of my universe. As long as I want revenge against them, they're still in the center of my universe. And I don't want them there. I can't get on with my life if I had this person in the center of my universe. So I believe sincerely that you can actually heal. You can break through the trauma bond peacefully. Not revengeous, not with revenge. Okay, again, revenge keeps them centered. Hate keeps them centered. It's actually in a roundabout way giving them supply. They feel better about themselves because in their minds, they're thinking to themselves, hey, listen, this person is still mad at me. Hey, got their emotions, got them, they're still thinking about me. No, I don't want to think about you. I don't want to think about them at all. But I have to because I'm entangled. And I did a video about that. Some of you have businesses together, some of you have property together, and some of you have children together. So blocking them completely is not that simple. It's really not. I tend to look at it as, hey, listen, if it's business, property, or children, okay, all I need to do is control the access. That's it. That's it. We're not getting into long conversations. We're not going out to eat lunch. We're not sharing coffee together. We're not doing any of that. I need to take care of the business, property, or children. That's it. That's all I want to do. And I think a lot of people, I don't think they realize that. I think a lot of people do that. And I'm not coming at anybody because people are at different stages of healing. But looking at their social media accounts isn't helping you. It isn't helping you. All you're doing is, it's almost like you're giving them permission to program your mind, to keep the trauma bond intact. Because they're going to do one or two things, okay? They're going to play victim in your face, or they're going to show you that they've been playing in your face the whole time. They're going to have the new supplier that was probably there before the relationship was officially ended, the person they have been cheating on you with. That's all they're going to do. So how is that helping you when you think about it? I tell people, if possible, block them. If possible. Again, we go back to property, business, and children. You can't block them completely. But if you have none of the above, block the hell out of them. Yeah, they creep my pages. I don't care. I'm not going backwards. I'm not gonna. Well, who's that? Why is that fuzzy face? Fuzzy face is the people that have no profile picture and they probably just joined the platform the day before yesterday. It's a fake account. The way that I look at it is, I really don't care about you. But I'm not going to hide what it is that I do. See, that's very important because, see, the narcissist wants you to hide. They want you to hide the interactions that you had with them because that by default starts to break down the mask. It kind of makes the mask start to crumble because, see, everybody's, as they told the story, that the narrative, that they wanted them to believe, when you start speaking your truth and you start making sense, that starts to dissolve and people start giving them a side look like, but you said this, it doesn't sound like. I've gone from seeing people on my social media, just that know both of us. Okay. And I see family, friends, just creeping the hell out of my pages. And I'm like, go report back. Go do what you got to do, but that's not going to stop me from telling my truth. See, that is the defining point. See, truth will always bubble up to the top. See, sooner or later, somebody's going to figure it out. Okay? What I'm doing is I'm sharing my truth not to get at that person. The reason why I'm sharing my truth is for the same reason that got me out the fog. Somebody else sharing their truth actually made me understand I wasn't the only one going through this. What was happening to me was not a one-off. What I was experiencing was actually real. Gotta think about that. You really have to think about that. So yeah, telling my truth is not about getting back at them. I can care two shits what they think. What I'm doing this for is I need other people, because there's somebody that's at the stage before I wrote No More Chains, just trying to make sense of it all. And you have to give yourself grace because you're not at fault. What you felt was real. What you felt inside of you was real. As an empath, you loved that person. You would do anything for that person. You supported that person. It's not your fault that they couldn't meet you at that level, that they didn't want to meet you at that level. That's not your fault. Just take it as a win, okay? And leave without all of the anger. That's what I try to get people to do. No matter what kind of abuse it is, it's still abuse. Whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, whether it's whatever, it's abuse. There is one person taking advantage of the other person for the main intent to hurt or diminish or break that person. It's still abuse. Okay, if you can, here's the deal. There are a lot of couples where they got to call the popo because they're doing like this, like that. I get that. And I'm not saying it's right. But a person that's being emotionally abused, they don't deserve to heal as well. You can't say that, well, that abuse is worse than that abuse. You can't say that. And vice versa, you can't say that abuse is worse than that abuse. How can you say that? How can you say that to the person that's suffering? How can the thing that survivors hear constantly is, just get over it. You're out. Don't worry about them anymore. But that doesn't help your nervous system. Those phrases that people throw out like Jolly Ranchers don't hurt. It doesn't help your nervous system. You are in pain. You are grieving for a person like most people do when a relationship is over. Okay? If you've been in a relationship for any amount of time and you value that relationship, no matter whose fault it is, there's going to be a point in time where you're going to grieve the loss of that person. That is reality. You are going, if you cared about that person to any extent, you're going to grieve the loss of that person. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But the narcissist is not going to grieve you. But you, on the other hand, are going to grow to grieve the narcissist because what you gave was real. What you gave was real. You were conned into loving someone that had no intention on loving you back. So yeah, you got to give yourself grace. Go ahead and grieve. Go ahead and grieve. Grieve as if they're a ghost. Okay, because you never want this person back in your life again. I know I don't want mine back. And one of the things that I learned from when I was learning about all of this stuff is that going back makes it worse. And I know that's part of the trauma bond. You want to go back. You want to go back. Again, that stupid thing that lives within empaths. Hope and I can fix anything. It's like our curse. I've got hope and I can fix it. Certain things you can't fix. Certain people you can't fix. Certain people are going to stay broken their whole life. And honestly, I have to be honest with you, it's really not your job to fix them. It really isn't. It's not your job to fix them. You can fix yourself, though. You can begin the process of bringing yourself back up to that level. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Bringing yourself back to being the best version of yourself, why not? Why not? That's what we do here. That's what we do at the Church of Real Talk. We want people to get to that level. There's something great inside of you. And that's what attracted the narcissist to you. That's what attracted your abuser to you. There's something great, no matter what the abuse was. There was something great inside of you. And maybe you didn't realize it yet. Maybe you didn't realize it yet. That's why it became so easy for the narcissist to make you doubt yourself, to doubt your greatness, to doubt what was inside of you. Yeah, it's gaslighting to a certain extent, but let's be honest here, to a certain extent, it was you doubting yourself. They just helped the seeds along. When we started the non-for-profit, we thought of different ways to insert ourselves into the healing ecosystem here in Camden, New Jersey, Camden County. We found different ways. Coffee and Hope is one way. I'm doing a spring resource there. I'm just waiting for the people to sign off on getting me space. I'm doing more Zooms. Oh, I've got a newspaper for Camden. I do. I got a digital magazine, Now Camden, and I'm going to ease my way into creating a mental health piece for that. Sometimes you've got to get your foot in the door to see what's inside, to see the full view of the house or the living room, if you will. Sometimes you've got to get your foot in the door and then, oh, that's what's back there. Always wondered what your living room looked like. That's what's back there. And that's what we're doing with the Church of Real Talk. We're finding ways to help you, no matter what the abuse is. And one of the things that I do, this is why we're trying to partner with mental health agencies, is one of the things that I truly believe in, as much as I've studied, I'm not a mental health professional. Let me be honest with you. Okay? I am a person, they give you college credits for what you experience. I just don't know if you can put, I was abused a few times by a narcissist. Can I get some college credits for that and, fast track it to the degree? So no, I don't have, any degree in mental health. And I tell people constantly, if you ever come to the point where you even question the fact that you need to see a mental health professional, go see them. Go see them. I'm never going to tell people, oh, watch the trauma bond exit protocol. Oh, sign up for my course. Oh, get a one-on-one Zoom and I'll heal you right away. No, it doesn't work that way. There are people that I have spoken to that have been still stuck in the trauma bond for over 3 years, still fighting off the feeling to go back, still having their nervous system go into high alert every time someone mentions their name or they see a picture of them, or God forbid, they go creeping their social media. Their nervous system throws up klaxons and code reds all over the place. So yeah, if you need to see a mental health professional, shit, go. I'm not going to shame you. But if you're not ready for that and you just need to, I guess, discuss or, kind of get a little bit more clarity, yeah, use me as a resource. But then again, you don't have to pay me. I got free stuff all over the place. I do. I can't sit back and do paywall. That doesn't help me keep my word to pull as many narcissist victims out of what they're in. If everything is behind the paywall. No, I'd say a good 70% of what I do is free. Yeah, a good 70% of what I do is free. And then you know what I love? I have posts on social media where people jump in and validate many people's concerns about abuse or narcissistic abuse. Where it becomes an echo chamber of run, get out. It doesn't get better. They do this, and this. And I was just going down my social media and I'm looking at this, and then I came across this post and I was like, damn, I got that many views. TikTok is about to monetize me. And I'm like, probably not gonna happen. But I looked at the views, but then I looked over at the comments. And it was like over 4,000, almost 5,000 comments. And I actually started going through those comments and I was like, wow, people are actually helping one another. I'm not even jumping in. I'm being honest. I'm just liking the post. I'm putting a little heart thing across the post. But I'm saying to myself, I'm like, there are good people out there. There are people that think like me and don't want anybody else to go through this BS. So yeah, I mean, again, I go back to the phone of ranch. What I'm doing may be niche as hell. I think my son, he does video games on YouTube and he gets like more views than me. And I'm not mad, I'm happy, I'm proud of him. But he does video games. He does video games all over the place. And he'll put up something for an hour and he'll have like 3,000 views. And it's like a whole fighting match. And I'm like, wow, how does that happen? So you've got your watch hours already. So, however, my thing is, I'm not looking to monetize this. I'm not looking to make this go viral. I'm looking to help people. That's what I'm looking to do, to help people. Because believe it or not, I still follow, support, and share from the creators that helped me when I was going through this. They're like, Weave told me, love that guy. Sinful AF, love her. Clarity over chaos, love her. Because these are the people that I was watching and they were just making so much sense. I couldn't just say, oh no, they're crazy. Oh, they're making this up. Oh, this is just something that they're doing so that they can go by. No, this is real. I don't know. I'm about to get off of here, but this is what we're doing with the Church of Real Talk. This is why we're building the nonprofit, and we're not being sneaky about what we're doing. We are actually trying to put an end to narcissistic abuse. We are trying to free as many empaths as possible. We want people to feel good about themselves, to feel good about the relationships they're in, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. You know, narcissistic abuse, whether it's family, whether it's co-workers, whether it's the person you sleep next to, you should feel good about these people. Co-workers, you should feel. But family and the person that you sleep next to, you should actually feel good about these people. You should feel that these people are in your corner. These people are there for you. You know, not that they're low key, as my daughter say, low key trying to destroy you. You know, with that being said, yeah, that's what we're doing with the Now Movement. We're trying to shed light on abuse, all forms of abuse, mental, emotional, physical. We're trying to shine a light on it. We're trying to bring it to an end. You know, and we're not being sneaky about it. We're just starting conversations to get our foot in the door to find people that need just a little bit more, to find people that come for one reason. However, there's something that is weighing heavily on their chest that they feel that they need to discuss. That's what we're doing here, you know. So I guess when the paperwork comes through, I'll be contacting, you know, Campbell Soup, because they ain't Candy. So I'll be contacting Campbell Soup, Subaru, and who else? Who else is in Candy? I, I don't know, the electric company. I mean, I'm just going to contact people and let them know what the mission is. You know, and we're putting in our bones. We're doing these community outreach things because, hey, listen, you know, it's cool. We're starting a conversation. You know, it doesn't cost people anything. So yeah, we're out there. We're in the trenches with that. You know, we've got Now Camden magazine. You know, we're in the trenches of that. We're highlighting non-for-profits. We're highlighting social activism. We're highlighting creators in Camden County. Yeah, that's why we're doing that. That's the reason why it's important that we begin to put in the work to open these doors. So that way, this way, we can begin to have that difficult conversation, difficult for many. However, that is how we're able to do that. I don't know. It might work, it might not work, but I'm never going to stop trying. Never going to stop trying. With that being said, thank you very much for joining me for the live. Sorry, I have to figure out on this computer how to find the chat thing, and did I just find it? I suck. Well, you know what? Hold on. I think I just found it. Okay, I apologize if you did comment. It will be on the live video, and I will respond to everyone that did comment. I think I multi-streamed this to TikTok as well as YouTube. So with that being said, you know, go get some of those bite-sized chunks from the Trauma Bond Exit Protocol. You know, DM me or send me a message if you want to find out more about the free resources, and let's pay it forward. You know, if you survive this, if you survive narcissistic abuse, if you survive abuse, be part of this movement. Let's support each other. Let's get the word out together. You know, with that being said, Minister Robinson, the only minister that I curse a lot. I know, it's the Navy in me. Minister Robinson, founder of the Now Movement. Hey, the reason why I do everything that I do, love you guys. And how do I end it?